He was born in 1967 in Aberdeen, Washington. His childhood wasn't easy. When his parents divorced at 9, it broke something in him. Later, he'd say his life split into before and after. He was a bright, creative kid, drawing comics, playing drums, but little by little, he turned into a quiet, sensitive teenager. He bounced between relatives' houses, crashed at friends' places, and suffered from scoliosis and these horrible stomach pains no one could diagnose for years. Music saved him. Punk rock, especially the Melvins and Pixies, lit a fire inside. In 1987, he started Nirvana with Chris Novoselic. They played dive bars, grimy basements, wherever they could, to crowds of drunk punks and misfits. It was loud, rough, and real. And then in 1991, everything changed. Smells Like Teen Spirit blew up on the radio and MTV. Nevermind knocked Michael Jackson off the top of the charts. Suddenly, Cobain was the voice of a lost generation. But fame, the thing he never wanted, wrecked him. He hated interviews, labels, expectations. "I'm not your fucking spokesman," he once said. He didn't want to be a leader. Hell, he could barely keep himself together. Fame didn't open up his world. It made it smaller. Then came the drugs. Heroin became a way to quiet the pain, physical and emotional. In 1992, he married Courtney Love. Their relationship was wild, obsessive, toxic, and tender all at once, like two wounds trying to heal by clinging to each other. That same year, their daughter Frances Bean was born. For a moment, it seemed like fatherhood might change him, but the press came for them. Rumors, attacks, custody threats. Kurt was drowning under the weight of it all. Still, he kept making music. In Utero came out, harsh, raw, and exactly what he wanted it to be. Critics argued, fans were mesmerized, but behind the scenes, he was falling apart. Rehab stays came and went. In March '94, he overdosed in Rome. Some called it an accident. Others weren't so sure. A few weeks later, he escaped a rehab facility in LA. Courtney, his friends, even a private detective looked everywhere. No one knew where he was. On April 8, 1994, they found him dead in the greenhouse above his garage in Seattle. He'd been gone for days. He was 27. The world froze. People sobbed in the streets. Candles burned everywhere. In his suicide note, he quoted Neil Young, "It's better to burn out than to fade away." Some people tried to read between the lines. Some said he was finally free. Others believed he'd been lost long before the end. Even now, conspiracy theories swirl around his death. Was it suicide? Was it the fame, the depression, the pressure, or something else entirely? We'll probably never know. But what we do know is this. Kurt Cobain wasn't just a musician. He was a mirror. He reflected the pain, the rage, and the loneliness of all the people nobody wanted to look at. He spoke for the sensitive ones, the broken, the overlooked. He made it okay to hurt, okay to doubt, okay to be real. He lives on in half-whispered lyrics, in flannel shirts, in handwritten journals, and in every kid who picks up a guitar, hoping maybe, just maybe, someone out there will understand. Kurt never wanted to be a hero. He just didn't want to be alone. He carried this unbearable need to be understood. Even at the height of his success, he felt empty. Friends said he had the soul of an artist and the heart of a child, one that couldn't handle how cruel the world could be. He searched for peace in his art, in his drawings and journals filled with scattered, messy but deeply felt words. In one of his last interviews, he said, "I feel like an old man in a young man's body." He was 26. He wrote about death often, not as an ending but as a kind of relief. Like a door he always saw cracked open. Kurt couldn't stand fake people. Not in music, not in life. He refused to play gigs where the vibe was phony. He fought with managers, producers, even his own fans if he felt like they wanted a product instead of a person. He hated seeing rebellion turned into something you could sell at the mall. To his fans, he was a prophet, a messiah. To himself, he was a scared kid shoved into a spotlight, asked to speak for millions, and it crushed him. He was honest to the point of self-destruction, sometimes literally. Family life didn't save him. His relationship with Courtney was chaotic, passionate, sometimes toxic. They'd cling to each other and burn each other down at the same time. Kurt wanted to be a good dad, but he was terrified he'd screw it up. He once wrote, "My daughter's going to be better than me. I want her to be free of the things that are killing me." In the last months of his life, Kurt started disappearing. He'd sit in silence for hours, staring into space. Sometimes with a guitar, sometimes a notebook, but more often just a hollow gaze. Friends said it felt like he was fading out, little by little. He stopped joking, stopped smiling. He carried a weight no one could take from him. He loved animals. He used to say dogs and cats understood him better than people did. At his house in Seattle, he'd hang out more with his pets and his daughter than with the guests. Those tiny moments of warmth were the only things keeping him afloat. But even those weren't enough anymore. When he died, they didn't just find a note. There were scattered journals, demo tapes of unfinished songs, and childlike drawings, maybe Francis's, maybe his own, scribbled in moments of desperation. One of those drawings showed a man inside a glass box. Outside, a crowd. Inside, total isolation. The caption read, "I'm still here. You're just not listening." A silent scream from someone who never wanted to be a god, but whom the world turned into one anyway. Kurt used to say real music comes from pain, and that's why it could never be purely happy. Even Nirvana's catchiest songs carry this crack, this sense of unease, this inner conflict. He didn't make music for fame. He made it to survive. And when music stopped saving him, he went quiet. Today, he's a symbol of a generation. His face is on t-shirts, his songs are in movies, his words float across social media. But behind all that was a fragile guy who didn't want a stage. He just wanted acceptance. Not glory, but peace. He left behind more than albums. He left a feeling. The feeling that you're not alone. That your pain is real. That being vulnerable doesn't mean you're weak. And that's why people still love him. Not for being a genius. Not for the scandals. But for the truth. Because he never faked it. And maybe that's what makes a real hero. Someone who never asked to be one.